And for the summer between what we have at our ski club in Pewaukee and also down in Burlington. So the Lindsay Legis Free Water Ski Club is another awesome piece of our summer that that I can't say enough good things about. We are actually doing a ski demo this Saturday. So today is June 19th, and on this Saturday, on the 22nd, there's actually a big event going on at Pewaukee Lake. The Kiwanis always every year put on basically a big party. It's a beach party where they have the road all blocked off. They've got music, they've got food, entertainment, all the things. And our ski club gets to have the fun and pleasure of doing ski lessons in the morning. We do an adaptive water ski demo at shortly after noon. I believe we start at 12:15. And then we have also, there's this big education tent because our piece is the Clean Lakes Water Festival. So it is pretty amazing, all the things that are going to be taking place. And part of that is a ski show. So we always look forward to doing those. And we have ski shows all summer long. So we are thick into the ski season at this point. And every Thursday night we always are hoping for good weather and we have some fun on the water with our crew putting on a show. And this year's theme is Barbie, which when I first heard that I was like, wait, our theme is Barbie? It's actually so much fun. They did such a great job of putting together a show that's a similar theme as if you ever saw that Barbie movie that came out a couple years ago. It is a lot of fun. I'm really enjoying our season, and again, can't say enough good things about what this what you know what, summer finally showed up. It's actually hot out there now. So for all of you who are looking for something to enjoy summer, this is one fun way to get to do that. And they've got so many good things at the lakefront there. It's a fun location and not too far away from Milwaukee. It's only about a half hour out of town there, and just taking I-94 down. It's a great location. It's a fun, relaxing evening at the lake. So I do know we do have a guest that will be joining us tonight. He is a gentleman that, let's see here, he is the presentation doctor. I, I actually have not had the chance yet to chat with him, but I know there are some friends that have, and I'm looking forward to hearing more about what he has to share with us tonight. He'll be with us here shortly, and it's gonna be an interesting piece for us. So I know last week we were talking about the wonderful gentleman that actually had recently passed away from our ski club. He was in his 90s. He skied up until he was, well, his last time he skied, was his 90th birthday. 90. Can you imagine being able to enjoy something that's a physical sport like that all the way uh until you're 90 years old? I think it's absolutely fabulous that we had that opportunity to enjoy that sport with him and to do all those things. It really made it a nice piece for all of us. It's a very family oriented sport, and uh, it's something that a lot of people don't think about. Show skiing being something that truly is for the little kids all the way up through the grandparents. Truly, it's a sport for everyone, and that impact that one person can make. That was something that I enjoyed celebrating last week with celebrating John's life, and really the impact that one person can make is amazing. And I know we've had the pleasure over the time here on this show of being able to introduce folks to the Milwaukee area, and there's an amazing amount of impact that each of these people make in their own way, in their own corner of the world. I'm so pleased to bring in a new friend to the show here. Dr. Gary Woolman is someone that I'm really looking forward to talking to here tonight. So I'm going to go ahead and bring him in. If you can go ahead and let us know a little bit about you, who you are, what you do. I know I'm familiar with the presentation doctor, and I just want to know more about who you all are. So thank you so much for joining us here tonight, Gary. Come on in
Such a
and
pleasure.
say hello.
Yeah. Hello.
So tell us a little bit about you.
Give me a little bit more direction because I can go in multiple
Yeah.
directions being a multidimensional character.
I love multi-dimensional characters. You're totally my kind of guy. So I know I got the hint about the presentation doctor. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Sure, we can do that. And I also want to lean into your audience, which I believe also includes people who are athletes, who have disabilities, who are handicapped, who have exceptional abilities. I would actually
Mhm.
prefer to say it in that context. I come from a background of being a champion springboard diver, gymnast, and track star in high school and college. And when I moved to San Francisco from the East Coast when I was 20, discovered at the beginning of the human potential movement all kinds of transformational body therapies, emotional release work, gestalt therapy, using psychodrama, all kinds of ways of helping people free, including myself, the physical tightness that all of us carry in our bodies, the emotional holding patterns, often connected with self-talk that's also keeping the tensions in place. And then underneath that, the creative gifts can emerge. That's why I call myself an archaeologist of the soul. To answer your question, I became a presentation doctor from having to present my very unique method of transformational body therapy, where I provided deep tissue stretching the muscles of the body and speaking in rhyme, like Dr. Seuss, at the same time to take people on this catalytic, whimsical journey through their self talk and instantly transform their relationship with their bodies, their communication, their relationships, their creativity, and their contribution to humanity. I'm very physical and visual, as you see on the screen. I make pictures of what I say. And over the years, since I had to present that body therapy method that was so far ahead of its time, I am a frontier person, I had to become a good presenter. I became such a good presenter that now I help other people in my 70s, 50 years later, keeping me young, to connect the spirit, the mind, the emotions, the physicality by having the visual, visceral, and emotive ways of sharing with the whole body communicating. This is the journey I've been on for 50 years. That's a kind of a long version of the short answer of how I've utilized the presentation doctoring to assist people.
Oh, I love that. There's so many pieces of that that I would love to dive more into because, oh my gosh. So you are really speaking to a lot of things that kind of hit a chord with me because I've not I don't have a great background in the whole presentation thing, you know, of what I'm saying. I've kind of walked into it in some ways, and I really enjoy what we do here with the radio show, with podcasting, but to have those different pieces and to be able to think about the presentation style and the presentation of all the things that you're describing like that, what is it if when you start working with somebody, what is a good starting point for a lot of the people that you see?
I want to speak to a particular person I worked with as an example who has cerebral palsy, because this would, I think, touch even more to this being the disability channel and how I worked with him. And this would be a good example of how I work with everyone. I had been doing my body therapy sessions with a friend of this person in Melbourne, Australia, where I was living at the time. And she had such shifts in her ability to communicate and such shifts in her ability to feel vital and magnetic in her presence and her presence station presentation that this friend of hers who had the cerebral palsy reached out to me from Los Angeles and said, I want to learn your body therapy method. Oh, that's interesting. So he invited a masseur, a very qualified body therapist, to travel a few hours from Las Vegas to Los Angeles. And I showed them the strokes, the affirmations, how to work with my method and how he could actually learn. And then after a couple of sessions, he said, you know what? Just give me some private sessions. I don't need to do the body work stuff anymore. Give me a private session. And we did a Zoom session similar to this. And in the Zoom session, he was all twisted in his body and he was saying, look, I have an image of myself being deformed, being dysfunctional, being awkward, not fitting in. Uh, this is a self-talk, a self-image that I've held all my life. And yet I have some tremendous healing abilities, he said. In that part of the conversation, even though this was simply a verbal, visual conversation, because he was 3,000 or 10,000 kilometers away from me, I asked him, if you were to rename, and I do this with everybody, if you were to rename and have a dialogue with your cerebral palsy, rather than seeing it as a problem or a disability, if you were to say these exact words, I'm ready to have a transformed relationship with you, and then name the condition, cerebral palsy. I said, what would you then call the cerebral palsy if you were to name it? Give it a different name, give it a different job title. He said, oh, we never thought about that before. Oh, okay. CP. Creative perception. I've got CP. I've got creative perception. And in that simple, single moment, everything shifted. His body became more erect. His eyes brightened. His movements were more fluid. And his self-talk shifted from, I'm a victim, to, I have exceptional abilities. I have creative perception. I do this with everyone. When I work with people who come in for a session, obviously they don't have to have a disability, but they always do have some form of holding back. Every one of us, myself included, we all have our particular flavor or version of having been suppressed, pushed back, held back, told that you can't do this right, or the self-talk that develops is I'm not good enough, I'm not enough. The same type of disability that we tell ourselves, that's not really based on truth, it's based on a story in order to fit into someone else's movie and be accepted by someone who says, oh, you know, you're awkward or you can't do things. And we play that out. Always when I work with people, then I ask them this question: what is holding you back? What has been suppressing you? What moment? What condition? Where did you freeze up where you couldn't actually come forward in a way that you would like to in this world? And then they'll name a moment and I'll have them replay that moment and then shift the dynamics of that moment so that they're able to break free. One simple example, I was working with a man who is a very good movement meditation instructor, and he has classes all the time in New York City. He was at a event I was leading at a um, dance movement event in Maui, Hawaii, where I used to live. And it was on transforming your message with your body and your voice. He spoke with me on the break and said, I really feel I forget what I'm going to say. I feel I stutter. I just don't remember everything I'm going to say when I'm giving instructions to my class. Like, okay, well, what's really going on? Let's go dive deeper onto here. What happened? What moment can you identify in the past? He said, oh my God. Grew up in New York. I was bullied by gangs my entire growing up years, adolescence, and so much so that when they attacked me and they bullied me, they put me down, they made me feel like I was worth nothing. So when I stand up in front of a group and he's shaking and tears pouring down his face at this point, I feel like I'm going to be attacked. By this time, the group of movement specialists from all around the world who were part of my workshop were very moved by this authenticity, his vulnerability, his honesty. And one after another came up to him and gave him feedback. You're the kind of person I want to work with because I trust you to be authentic in your expression. At that moment, he shifted his self-talk to, it's safe for me to be seen. I love being seen. I love being heard. That's the process I use, Sue.
I love this so much. And actually, I want to bring in Denise Vargas to our conversation here.
Hi, Denise.
She often is hosting here with me, and you guys have a lot of similar. Oh my gosh, her whole business concept is live creatively. So, Denise, I want to give you a chance to talk to this as well.
Love it.
I love when your client said creative perspective, was it? Personality?
Yeah, perspective or perception. Yeah, it can be changed from one word to the other. Sure, be
I
creative.
love that. I've always lived creatively, which is why I named my company Live Creatively. I also have a disability. So whenever I've
Yeah.
heard you can't do this because I'm like, oh yeah, watch me. All I need to do is tweak it, figure out a way that works for me, because we're all different. First of all, I honestly believe that whether you have a disability or not, we all have challenges. We might just grow into that challenge just because we age by itself, right? That will make you unable to do whatever you used to be able to do the way you used to do it. But that doesn't mean that you cannot do it. You just need to tweak it to make it work for you at that moment.
It's so
Love.
true. I love what you're saying. I'm reminded of Newton's third law, which is matter can neither be created nor destroyed, only transformed from one form to another. So one door closes, another door opens. There is no loss, really. There is a redistributing, a redefining, a refining of one's expression. And suddenly, well, you know the expression, one door closes. If another door doesn't open, perhaps a whole cathedral window opens. So to be able to see things creatively is the art of living. And I love this with people. We're all in our own way, tweaked, held back, disabled, all kinds of ways. It's by self-talk as well as it is by conditions that don't always come from outside. Often we see that we actually have a part in this, in co-creating the condition, and then it's a gift. It's no longer a curse. And this is important to be able to turn it around in our thinking, speaking, and actions and interactions. I love what you said there. Thank you, Deva.
Absolutely, yeah. And they also call me Diva for Denise Vargas, but I like acronyms, and I really did create an acronym that is something I do all the time, which is dream every day and visualize always, because whatever you focus your thoughts on, that's what's going to come into your life.
Beautiful. Great acronym. Powerful.
I
Thank
see
you.
so
Yes.
many similarities with what you two both, how you approach things, and I love it because it hits home with people, right? It's easy to relate to and understand. I do kind of wonder though, Gary, with what you do you find people are able to grab on relatively quickly, or is there a lot of I can only imagine. I'm picturing myself in the same situation where I'm trying to take the pieces and refigure how I'm looking at things that I find as my challenges, how to it's hard to do that, isn't it? It takes some
No,
often takes
no, it's
somebody
not.
else. Oh, go
It's
ahead. I want to
not.
hear more.
I spent many years as a professional court jester, and you can still see it in me. I have this joyful, enchanting, kind of charismatic and somewhat confronting invitational air where I encourage people to have so much fun that they let go of their condition. I'll give you another example that just came into my mental field right now. Simple example. I was working with a man who was actually the general manager of the big hotel, a big hotel. It was the Intercontinental Hotel in Singapore. I was doing a presentation coaching session for his whole staff of directors, managing the different departments, department heads. And there was one moment where we had a problem to deal with. And the problem was, what do we do when a client, a customer, a guest in our hotel has the issue of my light bulb broken. I need help. Do I call housekeeping? Do I call engineering? Do I call the front desk? And so we turned it into a parody, into a Monty Python ridiculous scene. And the man, of course, who wanted to be the worst client said, "Hey, that's me. I'm the general manager. I want to be on the other side. I want to give a tough time to the people here. And so through the chain and the flow diagram of what happened, we saw the ridiculousness first. I had to exaggerate it, make it into something totally fun. I want my help now. My light bulb's not working. I need help. I can't see how to brush my teeth or whatever. I need housekeeping and I need engineering and I want the general manager to it made it crazy. And then we changed things. Hey, let's do it again. Let's do it in a way that everyone in the room, including me, the witness, the coach, the mentor, the guide, can give you support. And he said, oh, okay, maybe I'll just make one call to the engineering because I know they would certainly have a light bulb, if not a light bulb moment somewhere. And so then we simplified, we gave him feedback. Therefore, what I do, Sue, is I make it so much fun that people don't see it as something that's hurting them anymore. Another time, I remember I was working with someone who's, I'm afraid to stand in front of people and present myself. I said, where does this fear come from? And they said, gee, I don't know why I'm thinking about this, but I was almost drowned once by this large wave. And whenever I'm standing in front of a group, I feel a large wave coming and I'm going to be drowned. I want to run and hide. Okay. There are different people in the room at that point. I said, have these people, 4 or 5, 6 of the people, stand over you like they're a large wave. And he began to tremble. And oh my God, this is exactly what it felt like. We made it into a ridiculous, exaggerated scene. And from that, I said, what are you ready, just like with the CP person, to do with the wave? Instead of it engulfing you, he said, wave, I'm going to have you be in back of me so I can ride you and then surf my way to there. So simple little tools that, like what David was saying with the audience, that can be catalytic, charismatic, fun, take people on a different ride. There's no longer confrontation, then it becomes invitation, and people warm up to that.
Ooh, changing confrontation to invitation.
Yeah.
I love that. That whole idea of being able to reformat your approach to be able, it's like you're looking at a problem and your problem is standing straight ahead of you. Well, walk to the other side and look at it. It's sometimes it's a much different view and it's not as daunting. I I love examples. That is something that speaks very loudly to me to be able to wrap my head around what you're all saying. And I would just invite, do you have another example of another time that you had a big impact on somebody that really flipped a switch for them and made all the difference?
Okay. As you say it, of course, I get a picture of a scene of a past moment because I've had hundreds of these. And the scene that I pictured was when I had first started visiting this part of the world. I moved from New York, California, Hawaii, New Zealand, Australia. In New Zealand, I was visiting New Zealand in my early 40s. And I was putting on a big event on my presentation coaching. And I was turning the yellow pages one day, and there's a big ad on a man named Brian Head. He wouldn't mind my sharing this. International hypnotist and international speaker. Big guy and big reputation. I thought, hey, this guy's either going to be full of himself or maybe he would like to take the next level because I work with some of the top speakers in the world. So I called him, and he was so happy to hear my calling. He said, oh my goodness, I spent $10,000 on that Yellow Pages ad. No one ever responded. Get yourself over here quick. So I took a ferry from Waiheke Island, where I was staying, over to Auckland Harbor. I met him, and he was sharing with me a presentation he was about to give to a large group to invite people to be part of his hypnosis classes. All right. And he was shouting to the audience the way that some speakers do. And I stopped him. This was actually not with an actual audience. He was rehearsing. So it was just me and him in a room. Brian, who are you shouting at? I'm just standing here with you in the room. What are you shouting at your audience for? What's going on? And he said, wow, oh my goodness. And it was a moment of confrontation and invitation for him. He went, oh my goodness. Tears down his face. My father never listened to me. I've been screaming to have my father listen to me all my life. He's in his 60s at this time. I say, okay. He's sobbing, his voice getting softer, more in his heart, more in his tenderness. from that moment, he made a decision. He said, I don't have to shout to be heard. I can speak from a heartfelt, tender place because my father, we did a little exercise, a little bit of a enactment, a role enactment with his father. What would your dad say to you now? Son, I'm proud of you. I never really told you how much I care and how much it meant to me that you were become a great success. Please forgive me for being so hard on you all those years. I'm so proud of you. And he's sobbing, sobbing, sobbing. That was the moment where he felt, even though it was an interactive psychodramatic gestalt moment, even though it wasn't with the actual father, it was with the father that he was living with inside his psyche. And that shifted things for him immediately in that moment of feeling heard, feeling seen, feeling understood.
And that's something we all are looking for, to be seen, to be heard, to be understood. Actually, I'm going to turn this over to Diva for a moment just to catch some thoughts you have with all the things you've been hearing.
Well, again, this has been phenomenal. Again, the mind is so powerful. It's what we really, again, like I said before, what we focus on. If you're going to think negative thoughts, that's what you're going to bring into your life, a bunch of negativity. So I'm always about being positive, shifting your perspective, so I am so amazed and so in tune with what you were saying.
Beautiful.
I love that. Actually, in the next maybe 30 to 40 seconds, Gary, I'm wondering if you want to share a final thought with us.
Yeah. Again, I often get my final thoughts or my inspirational thoughts by looking at the blank screen of my mind, and I actually see the words appear like I'm watching a neon screen. And the simple words, 4 or 5 words that came to mind are these words. It's an inside job. It's all about speaking from the inside out. It's not about doing a great presentation and try to impress people. It's about coming to the key words and the matching gestures that put a person in the zone. I would say for myself, I'm creative, which I am. I'm playful, do a gesture that looks playful, and I'm inspirational. I just hit my 2 hands together like a knife hitting a board. And those 3 gestures and sounds and intonations and intention puts me in a place of getting into the zone so I can absolutely communicate from that inside connection, and then my words flow more easily. Say these words with me. We'll end with this. The more I trust what I deeply know,
The more I trust what I deeply know,
the more my thoughts,
the more my thoughts,
my words,
my words,
and my actions
and my actions
fully, freely flow.
fully, freely flow.
There you go. It's an inside job.
It is an inside job. Gary, thank you so much for joining us here today. I really appreciate all you've shared. It, like I said, it really has struck a chord with me, and this has been such a pleasure. I look forward to getting to know you more, and gosh, maybe we can have you back again someday here where we can dive in deeper in other directions. I really thank you very much from the bottom of my heart. Diva, always love having you here, hon. That you're the